Okay, so it should be going. Let's go to sandbox mode. Let's select an island that doesn't suck balls. Oh, yeah, welcome to our podcast recording thing. We're playing Jurassic World while talking about stuff. Yeah,
This can this be considered like a part two to the 5D chess thing? We're just
sure.
gonna kind of talk about more advanced topics
Oh, does it not let me select
in
it?
this sort of the same model.
Oh, no, I have to go
If
through
you're
and recollect the conditions. Okay, so fine, continue.
continuation.
Yeah, hopefully that works.
So did you actually? Did you watch the whole thing, or did
Oh,
you just kind
yes,
of like
I
see it?
watched all of 5D chess. All of it.
So you know kind of what I've already covered, at
Hmm.
least.
Okay, so there we go. Da 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 da.
We're actually
Yeah.
recording this in the time slot that we normally do, Vampire, but because Joey's in the military, his schedule can change as the government dictates, and he was busy today. So
Increasing the number of staff at a restroom increases the number of guests it can satisfy and increases running
what?
costs. So I'm guessing we have toilet fairies like back in Europe. Okay.
Yeah,
God
get
damn it.
one of them to hold the buckets.
Well, they lock you in, sort of like the thing locks you in automatically, and to you pay for time in there to get in there for the amount of toilet paper you're using, and then to get out you pay as well. If you don't pay to get out, they hold you the entire day until the end of shift, and then they make you pay for that whole coverage time that you were stuck in there as well. And it all goes on a thing for you and stuff. It's really annoying.
And I hate the future.
Yeah, that's just in Europe. Well, different parts of Europe. Let's be honest. Some of them are worse.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm in here now. Where the hell are these new toilets at? And do they look awful? How big are the toilets? Are they huge? I have no idea. There they are. Modern and stylish restroom building provides guest satisfaction. Satisfaction. I guess
I
once
can't get no satisfaction.
I can't get no satisfaction. Oh, sweet. I can be able to put one right near the entrance. Okay. How do I turn things? Ah, I see. It's been too long. Boo-doo-doo. Boo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Boo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Doo-doo-doo. Doo-doo.
Oh, see, you turned
Doo-doo.
off copyrighted music.
Yeah, I turned it off and then I did it anyway.
Okay, yeah, nice.
Noise. It's dinosaurs. What can you say? Other than I screwed up by playing that. Where are my dinosaurs, actually? There should be dinosaurs in this exhibit. Hello?
So I've been working on stuff on my end, mostly reading and catching and like figuring out what Australia is like,
Oh my
as far as wolf abduction is concerned.
fucking god. So, I told you. Oh, yeah, my dino. There it is. Hello. My little baby. It needs a wetland. It needs more wetland. He's an angry baby because he doesn't have enough wetness. Anyways, you're saying?
I think I've spent I think I've spent like maybe 4 or 5 hours just reading the Naga book.
God, yeah, I
There's
know it.
significantly more text in there than I thought there was going to be, and I just finished the lore. Are all the books like that? Do they all have lore? Is that why there's so much lore, but none of it's available anywhere? You just have to
Yeah?
buy like the $10 books. All right, cool.
Yeah. Which is why I got them all a long time ago. And what's super
Yeah,
great is that, you know what? Now, uh, I don't have the physical books anywhere anymore, so I had to go obtain PDFs somehow. And
it's legal
yeah,
if you already own them, right?
yeah. As far as I'm concerned, because I owned it at one point in time. If I spent
Yeah,
the
this
money
was
on
like
it, it's fine. Damn it.
yeah. The reason why emulators haven't been taken down is because it's legal to emulate a game that you own.
Exactly. And Jesus Christ, do I own too many? What do you call them? Digimon games, or rather did. I still have the systems for some of them, but it's easier to do it that way. Ooh, let's
Yeah,
play some more
I've got a crate full
toilets.
of Nintendo 64 games and no Nintendo 64 anymore that works. So I'm like, yeah, let's play it on my PC. A
Yeah,
little easier.
exactly. Yeah, it really is. Right. Uh, yeah, all those hotels are gonna need toilets since they're apparently not inside of the hotels. I just assume these buildings have these built in. But hey, if they want to be old school about it, they can. I keep clicking scenery instead of wherever the hell the restrooms are actually stored. There we go. Okay, that should keep this island from collapsing in a minute. Here are my little papers. Look at that. Now that's how a
One.
Chasmosaurus is supposed to look. That's right. Everyone who ever played the Carnivores games, eat your heart out. Such a good dinosaur. Looks right. Instead of a replacement for a trike. It's beautiful. Yeah. So thin. Such wow.
So
hmm
I'm thinking about. I'm pretty sure I'm going to put the changelings in Sydney.
Okay. So we're going to change it up through Sydney.
Yes, because I think the I can do a lot with the Dreamings version of the Opera House. I think that will be pretty cool.
That will be pretty cool, actually. So I was.
There's a lot
Oh.
of really there's a lot of very positive things to explore in Sydney, like the Opera House, and there's also a lot of negative things to explore, like penitentiaries,
Yeah.
um, and stuff that were like had some horrible things happen there. So you can get a very good like super awesome, cool, nice like dreaming bits, and a lot of really horrible nightmare dream bits.
Yeah.
Just a lot of good
Shiny
stuff,
Cutie.
and I don't need to worry too hard right off the bat because like I'll probably at some point be exploring how the dreaming is weird in certain parts of Australia, but
Oh,
we'll hold off on
dude,
that for a little while.
did I get to tell you about how the real world spirit part of Australia is compared to the real world spirit world? Like, fuck. Did you see the.
that,
Did you
that,
read the
that was a
document?
sentence. Which document?
Oof. Okay, so that one that I sent you guys earlier about it, I just updated it with the shit that I found. I have it on my. I have it here. Oh, I'm gonna follow this baby around for a bit while we.
Oh, that document. Yes, yes, I did read that document. Ooh, open my email. That's what I need to do. Nope, that's not it. That's it. Too many things to.
I know. I'm trying. Wait, I think I can get to it easier if I go through this one. And looking at my little Spino at the same time. It's so cute. Yes, and carryover
So yeah,
plot lines. Way at the bottom.
yes. So as kind of previously, as we said in the last video where we talked about this stuff, um, I will be doing, I will be running Changeling and Demon. Sky, you will be running Werewolf and Vampire,
Oh yeah,
and poor
Farah and
Joey.
Vampire.
Yeah, and yeah, right. It's not really Werewolf at this point, and poor Joey is going to have to run Mage and Hunter.
It's okay.
Oh boy.
I think with the version of the Hunter stuff I sent him, it doesn't showcase the rules for making two characters every time one dies. Uh oh.
It's honestly probably for the best.
There we go. Everything's good.
Maybe we shouldn't do that.
Yeah, maybe we should. We should just realize that there are more hunters, but not, you know, that we're gonna play them all because ha 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 ha. Fuck that. Even the video games didn't do that, and the video games did
Yes.
some crazy stuff. So, anyways, yeah. Fuck.
Yes. So I did read this bit that you put on the end here.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. You have no idea how long this conversation with my mom and this person on the phone took. All right. This was a long ass conversation because motherfuckers so
that
interested in goddamn textiles and other weird aspects I didn't care about. But professors, what are you gonna do?
yeah. I've actually
Stuck on a tree.
met and talked with several like Aboriginals when I was down there.
That's awesome. See, I haven't got to go down there, so I had to go literally talk to someone who had been. Because normally, the conversation I have with Australians are just online, and we're talking about fun, random stuff, not our cultures.
Yes. Um, that's because Australians like the white Australians anyway definitely have a culture of, and who gives a fuck.
Yeah, and Alaska has
That
a
they're
culture
just
of don't say, don't tell when it comes to literally anything.
yeah. I don't want to hear about it.
Exactly. If
you
you tell me, I'm gonna have to
you
do
do
something.
you in
Yeah.
your house.
No. Okay, just gonna scoot you away from this little baby. How's your social? Perfect, actually. Just one baby. Good. 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 All right. Gonna gonna save. Just, yeah, sure. Save. I don't know. Yep. Cool. All right. Let's see if I can pop to the other islands. Whoop. Hi. Ah, no, that's not how I do that. Trying to figure this out. Controls. Island navigation. Yes. Okay. Heading back to my earlier islands and gonna go put down some toilets, I guess. You there?
Yes. Sorry. While we're talking, I'm also going through computer files and fixing and like cleaning stuff up that
Yeah.
needs to be cleaned up. Just well, recordings and stuff.
Yeah, so
And,
since I know you have a bit more experience with the Aboriginals and stuff, I'm probably going to want to know more about that if there's anything that I missed or things that might be just like interesting, like, ah, they don't eat walruses, they only eat jalapeno peppers, or something strange that might be relevant.
they definitely don't. They definitely don't talk much.
I know that
um,
much. Jesus.
I mean, that's for sure. It's not. Yeah, when I say managed to have like interact with them and talk to them in any sort of manner, um, the they were just kind of like, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, this is how we did this, and then that would be like, all right, that was like the conversation. they didn't. They definitely weren't overly sherry. Um, and I was too young at the time to really like ask a lot of or the correct questions.
Or intense
Um,
questions, or very specific, like odd ones, you know? Yeah, I get it.
yes, yeah, I was like 13 or 14 at the time,
Yeah, back when you're like, oh man, a
and I'm
good
like, oh yeah, I
question.
wonder how to throw a spear. Yeah,
Exactly. That's the type of thing when that's a good question, and you don't realize that, wait, that was a fucking waste. I have asked so many
but
dumb
hey, now I know how to
shit
throw a
questions.
spear, so
Yeah.
I know how to properly use an atlatl. So there's that.
hmm
Um,
I
I
know how
also
to
know how to
throw an
properly throw a
axe.
boomerang.
Yeah, properly throwing an actual boomerang is kind of important because a lot of people think they're like the toy ones, and they are not.
No, I mean to hit what you're aiming at is actually fairly difficult.
hmm
Um,
I have put down toilets. Joe.
um, but yeah, I mean I climbed like Mount Uluru, or at least as far as they let the white people go. Um, I've been through like the jungles and stuff of Australia. I went through most parts. I was like in 7 or 8 different cities. I saw the Great Barrier Reef. I went up the Mount Uluru. I saw the outback. I saw the jungles. Saw the beaches. Saw the cities. So I've seen all that stuff personally. Um, uh, the actual like culture of the native people there is incredibly difficult to obtain in any sort of fashion. Um,
God, yeah.
it's because like if I wanted to know like about Native Alaskan stuff, it would be a bit of a pain in the ass, but I could just find the right people and ask them, right? And
Hmm.
and like they would tell me. In the native Australians, even if you found the right people and asked them, they wouldn't necessarily tell you.
Yeah.
They didn't really care, uh, like uh, about people that weren't them. So like they're like, yeah, we're like, hey, we'd like to learn more about your culture. And they're like, that's cool. At least as far as I could tell, like based on my very limited interactions with them. Obviously, this is a pretty extreme generalization, and there's aren't really many of them left, which definitely doesn't help. But
Yeah.
as far as exploring sort of like native Australian culture and themes and stuff like that, it will probably be fairly limited. Just because we don't know that much and we don't want to misrepresent
Dude,
of
exactly.
it at all. That would be about the worst case scenario. So, I mean, take whatever anything that we use in our games, take with a grain of salt, especially considering how much like World of Darkness needs to inspire like the themes and story anyway.
Yeah, and it does tell
Um,
you that you're not in your world, you're in a parallel world. It's like straight up in every World
yes,
of Darkness thing, so, yep.
yes, and based on what I read in the Demon book, oh my god.
Jesus, yeah.
So I read the lore in Demon,
From the demon's
and
perspective, yeah. Whew.
yes, from the demon's perspective, and it simultaneously got rid of all the ambiguity in World of Darkness, like everyone complains about, but also at the same time manages to introduce more ambiguity than there was before.
Like it should have done,
Um,
exactly.
yeah, it manages to explain the ambiguity without giving a plausible explanation for it, without destroying it completely. And I personally think that that was a masterful stroke on their part. Like, I don't see how they could have done what they did better. Um, in for those for to briefly sort of go over for everyone who the one person who's listening to this that isn't us too.
Yeah.
Um, the World Darkness was very popular for a while, and one of the main draws to it was its ambiguous origins. Right, the vampires didn't know where vampires came from. Right, werewolves didn't know where werewolves came from. Everyone kind of had their own idea, and there were a lot of theories that were bandied about. A lot of them were contradictory,
Huh.
especially with each other, right? For example, a lot of vampires believed that Cain was the first vampire, and a lot of werewolves believed that Cain was the first werewolf.
You know what was interesting about that? So, that, when you look at that and the who was the first werewolf thing and stuff there, the ones who explored that and had that theory are actually the Shadow Lords who spread that out. Which, if you look at them later, they're the ones who are like, "Hey, the Giovanni vampires, they're like good friends of ours. We should put the entire world into an era of darkness and fucking literally cut through layers of reality with a blade." Those are the ones who presented that, so that's what makes it really more interesting because there are lives and reincarnations and stuff like that, and presumably Kane would reincarnate as a werewolf at some point down the line and be recognized if he was one. So it's really interesting. Like, was that some Shadow Lord bullshit that they put in there purposefully, or what? And I like that. It was cool. It really gave them a extra layer of bastard personality that I just liked.
Yeah, so there was a lot of sort of and like it never went out and outright stated what was true. It just presented a lot of options and sort of hinted at some things, but what they hinted at could mean multiple things, and each sort of region of the world had different origin stories as well. So, like based on the culture of the places. So when Demon came out, right? In order, like, a lot of people didn't like it. A lot of people hated it because what they did was, they basically were like, okay, yeah, God created everything. Yeah, that God, the one from the Bible, the Christian one. Yeah, that one.
That one. Yep.
That God created everything, and yeah, Lucifer was a thing, and Satan is a separate thing,
Yes, which
and
I'm
there
very
were
glad they
angels,
did
and there were fallen angels.
because, like, Satan and Lucifer being separate entities is a very classic part of Christian mythos, and dealing with all that stuff and figuring out who the fuck is who, and why did this one's name change to Satan, and what was his name beforehand, and why is he here with Lucifer, and what the fuck. Yeah.
But yeah, they essentially went, yeah, the Christian origin of like Christian, the way the Christians say it happened. Yeah, it pretty much happened like that. I mean, it didn't like it. The Bible doesn't like encompass everything, but it does a good amount. So what they did was they kind of the way
They
what
took
many
that
people
and
thought at
Paradise
the time was
Lost
that it.
and put them together. If you've ever seen Paradise Lost or read it.
Um,
Gonna go with no?
no, I've read a number of things with very similar names to that. I don't think I've read.
Yeah.
I don't think I've because based on context, I don't think I've read what you're talking about.
Yeah, so Paradise Lost is the one where it takes the concept of Lucifer and the devil and whatnot and talks about them as romanticized characters who were still striving for good and aren't just complete shitbags. Because, like, IRL, if you pull out that part, like, Satan's a big. Well, okay, the devil is a big piece of shit. Like, honestly. He ain't gonna kill you, but he's gonna do a shit ton worse when she's done. Whereas, World of Darkness takes the Paradise Lost route, and it's like, oh, he was trying his best, but, done fucked up. Which is
Yeah.
how World of Darkness goes with it.
Um. Yes, World of Darkness is definitely a different retelling. Um, it's a more quote unquote realistic telling of what could have happened at the very least, where it's like it wasn't just a bunch of angels who were like, fuck it, right? We're going to fight the most powerful being like in the universe who's very clearly omnipotent and omniscient and clearly I'm like why would they do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of gives a reason. They knew that they were fighting a hopeless battle, but they had a good but they were it was about morality and what was right. And the longer they fought, the more they forgot about why they were fighting in the first place, and the more it just became about the fight in general. And then they eventually went crazy when they got locked in the abyss. But yeah, a lot of people didn't like this when it came out because it essentially said, Abrahamic sort of like the origins of the world are true. Everything else is bullshit, except for there. Actually, there's a few little lines, but a few little lines in one of the lore bits, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because all this lore is it's being told from a demon's perspective, right? The actual demon changes, like as you read through the book, because there's various conversations between usually one demon and one mortal.
Yeah.
Um, One of the demons happens to mention that the world used to have more layers, and when
Mm.
the mortal questions that, he's like, well, some people like believe that the world was created over the course of millions of years through evolution, and the mortal's like, uh-huh, and he's like, and some people think that God created the world in 7 days, and he's like, uh-huh, and he's like, yeah, both of those things are true. They were just happened on different layers in different ways, and there were like an unfathomable number of layers where different ways the world was created are true, and different things were happening and all this other stuff. And he's like, but the more the humans believed, like the humans weren't able to rectify those in like that in their mind. They thought because the more the humans like lived on, the more they were like, hang on, if the world was created in 7 days, then it couldn't have been made in a million years. And if it was created over millions of years, then it could be made over. So which one is true? And so as they would start to like believe that only one thing could be true, that became more and more true because humans have the power to shape reality through their belief in the world of darkness.
Which is
So what it did
pretty
was
close.
it collapsed and fused a bunch of these layers together, and the demon even mentions how confusing that must be for humans. He's like, I don't know how y'all deal with it. It doesn't make like looking at the way the world is now doesn't make any sense. Because like there's evidence as to of like there's so much evidence for creationism and there's so much evidence for evolution. When both of those things are true, it kind of, but they used to be separate and now they're together and now it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Um, So what that does is open the gate for literally any origin you want to be true without contradicting any other origin. Um, so really, what they do is, yeah, they kind of got rid of the old ambiguity, but they left it. They opened up the door for more ambiguity, and options for the storyteller to do kind of whatever they want.
Yeah, which is really neat. I'm gonna take a good look at these bathrooms in the dark. Interesting.
That's a sentence.
Yeah. Huh. Oof, yeah. So, yeah. World of Darkness is strange, and then Australia is stranger. Who knew
Yes,
going to Australia in World of Darkness would be just like going to Australia in the real world? You know, it'd be frickin' Australia.
bizarre. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. So I've already kind of gone over some stuff in the last video. Um,
So
I
yeah,
talked about each setting in general.
how you have the thing with the dreaming, and how the dreaming is something you can just walk into and whatnot. So there, according to the Aboriginals and whatnot, the spirit world is completely 100% as physical as the real world. And when they see a air quotes ghost or spirit or other entity, it's just like seeing a person interacting with a person. You don't see it like it's a dead person. You see it like they're a person, or like how they are. And that just
Yeah,
blew my fucking mind through the roof. Like,
yeah, yeah. No, I was reading through some stuff about the underworld there. That comes from the Wraith books, and yeah, the spirits of the dead like Aboriginals just like can show up whenever they want.
yeah.
There's like an unspoken agreement to not interfere with with like mortal lives, but a lot of them do anyway, because like in order for a wraith to move on truly, they need to resolve something that usually involves getting someone to help them with that. But they try to be as low impact as possible. But yeah, like a dead person can just like show up in town and just be there again.
Yeah.
They don't. They try not to, but they could.
Yeah, what's interesting is when I was talking to my mom about, because World of Darkness, they leave some things out or don't know certain things about cultures. So when we were talking to this guy about it with my mom, because she's the one who knows the person in the first place. I don't know random professors.
You're from Australia.
Yeah, no, not a thing that I know. But my mom does know a professor from there because they used to live in California back when she did. Anyways, so the cool thing is, one moment, you gotta catch this raptor who's running around being a douchebag. There it is. Okay, I'm watching you. I'm watching you, cat. Did you kill someone, cat? Did you just murder someone? They did. They murdered. They murdered some chick. Wow. Ra-
Well, oh
racist
well.
cat.
That's Jurassic Park for you.
Down. Fucking Velociraptors. Anyways, so I'll take care of that later. I'm just gonna save. Just knocked out. Everything's fine. So anyway, yeah, we should take care of that now. Oh, she died of old age. Oh, well, good. Okay, cool. No one cares. Then, why is this still broken? Oh, right, they haven't reached it yet. That's all. Okay, we're gonna go fly this corpse away. But yeah, so with the dead people and spirits and monstrosities, so it's like with what we got. According to the people, they can only move where they were in life, like places they moved during when they were alive, and it's like within up to like either depending on how you interpret things that were said, either like 200 American feet from where they actually stood in life, or like the horizon of how far they saw when they were alive. So those two things create two
Oh,
different extremes.
they could probably wander if they ever saw like portions of the outback. They probably would wander pretty far. but they couldn't be able to go that far in the like in the jungle, pretty much wherever they walked
Yeah.
before, because it's so hard to see anywhere. So they'd only be able to have a few paths through.
You mean you
the-
die of heat stroke within a few hours if you're not properly prepared.
Hello, Craig.
And
We are-
dehydration.
Yeah, we are doing a recording and talking about stuff that is going to be relevant in the Australia
How did I get rid of this?
super project.
Well, I apologize for bringing my no-nonsense retard opinions in this.
It's okay. That's actually useful as well.
Well, I know about survival, and I know quite a bit about the Outback, so
Is this the
I
one
don't know
that
how
is
useful
this?
that'll be in this game.
It depends on who we're playing and when. For the vampires, it probably won't come up too much. If it does, something went wrong, probably on away from one town to another town.
Yeah.
Is this the right
Yeah.
helicopter? Which is the correct helicopter?
question.
Yes.
Which werebear would you like me to be?
That is entirely up to you.
Because I don't know about if there's any stat differences between them or anything
There
else.
is not. It's purely
Oh.
flavor.
Oh, okay then. I'm going polar bears because I want the white hair on my
Alright.
character.
Go for it.
Right. Yes. So I actually have a thing here. If we want to briefly discuss this,
Just go for it.
Craig has decided he's picked stuff for the characters he's going to play. We already picked when he was here last week. At my
We thought it was a good idea to get everything done. Like
Yeah,
a week or two ago.
Yeah, we started on his. Obviously, we're not going to do full character creation until we're actually doing the whole web thing. But he has decided to play a werebear for the Farah campaign because it's not going to be werewolf. He decided to play a troll in Changeling. He's decided to play a devourer in Demon.
Interesting choice.
Yeah, because he was like he's been enjoying a druid in D&D, and he's like they sound druidy.
Not to mention, I don't know enough about this world to do any political talky shit. So I'll be the guy that punches shit. Let's just do that.
Yeah, he's picked pro combat for pretty much all of them.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So, okay. Yeah. You guys go on. Yeah. I have things to say, but it
He's
can wait.
picked he's picked an Akashic Brotherhood mage. He's picked an Avenger for Hunter and Gargoyle for Vampire.
Cool. Okay, so I don't know if for Hunter if he'll actually wind up being what you wanted to be. Depends on how Joy decides to go about it. So, one of the things that they
That's
have
fine.
is a thing where you start off when the hunters are chosen and their first interaction with a supernatural being. And based off how they go and what they do therein, will determine which one they can become of the types.
Okay.
So if he decides
if
to
you
go that
kinda know
way,
which one you want.
yeah. So if he does that, you might not wind up with the type you want, or whatever, or things like that. But if he goes with it where we can already have had our first interaction and have that as a story element of our background, then you can be whatever. So we're gonna have to get Joey and talking about that.
Yeah, even if we did do the other one though, like if you knew I want to play an Avenger, then you just make a character who would be an Avenger, right?
Who would
Like,
act
yeah,
that way, and when
and
the event happens, actually act that way. Because if you don't do it,
Yeah,
you won't get it.
I'm gonna yell. I'm gonna yell revenge a lot while I punch things. Maybe Joey will get the hint.
Yeah.
You watch if they like a
He
vampire.
did nothing wrong to me.
report
I'm just
to
gonna
you.
yell revenge.
Yeah.
Yeah, the guy did nothing to me whatsoever. It's the first time meeting him. Never insulted me or anything else. I'm like, revenge.
Hi, I'm
just
Vlad, not a vampire. Revenge.
Oh well, so if I was gonna run Hunter, the way I would do it is during a Sabbat raid, and they're raiding Camarilla, and the players would just be caught in the middle of that of random ass crazy shovelhead vampires not even knowing what the hell they are attacking people, and that would be where I put them in a awkward situation they're in.
There is a recently liberated Anarch city.
Oh, speaking of that, so this is kind of important. Where the
Yes,
hell?
talk to us about vampire politics.
Yes, where the hell do the vampires? Do we want to play the vampires? Like, what the hell? Which
I don't
city?
think we want to play a Sabat game.
Vampires will probably end up being in Sydney. It's the biggest town in Australia.
Well, okay, hang on. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. So, there are 6 options, right? Or 5? 5 options. There's a Sabat city, which we probably will not do because I don't want to play a Sabat game very much. I don't know Sabat very well, and what I do know of them, they seem like a pain in the ass.
Oh God, yes, they are a pain in the fucking ass, and they're going to be even more of a one since I said I'm going to acknowledge 5th edition lore, but as lies. So it would be a very werewolfy campaign because we'd be incorporating them in the Umbra.
Great. Yeah, so we're not doing Sabat. So then what we have left available to us are 2 Camarilla cities, an Anarch city, and an independent city. Now, Sydney is independent.
Now the problem with
there are
independence is that you get a lot of Giovanni and Shadow Lord and etc. with that.
Yeah, people that the Camarilla don't trust, but who also don't get along, but also aren't really bloodthirsty to really be accepted in the Sabat very well.
Yeah, or they are bloodthirsty, but just in a different way.
Yeah, like Giovanni.
Yeah, or they're exactly like the Sabat, but the one big difference is they don't like being bound to others of the same rank.
Yeah, and who does?
Yeah, exactly.
That seems like the biggest drawback of the Sabat, really. The forced blood bonds.
Yep.
So we could play Anarchs. I'm not a big fan of the Anarchs. I think they're a bunch of dipshits.
The most interesting thing about the Anarchs to me is how a player can easily advance in power in the Anarchs, but you can also easily degrade in power. Like, it's really good if you want your players going up and down in the power scale. Of like, oh,
Yeah.
I control this, I'm politically in charge of that, this stuff's my territory, and now it's all gone. If you want to do that to your players, it's perfect. If you don't, it's not good.
So yeah, if Joey and Craig both wanted to play Anarchs, which I doubt. Joey doesn't really strike me as much as an Anarch player.
I don't have an opinion on this.
Then I wouldn't mind, right? It's just not. It wouldn't be my first choice, but I wouldn't say no. The only one I would directly say no to is the Sabat. The independent game would be interesting.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't happen very often.
Exactly, and it does create the perfect situation for having multi-clan coterie without it being weird. Because, usually a coterie consists of mainly the same clan, maybe 1 or 2 nearby, clans. But you're not going to see like a Ventru and a Nosferatu in the same coterie very often. But Independence, that happens all the time.
Yeah, you can find, because there's a lot of like quote-unquote extinct like bloodlines, ones like bloodlines that have very few like members left, and an independent city would be the perfect place for them to find them.
Yeah, because a lot of them are, air
like,
quotes, extinct for, official reasons, not real reasons.
Yeah, there are some left. They're just mostly hiding or in weird spots.
Or call themselves something else. Exactly, stuff like that.
Yeah, like you might, like if you're playing in America, right? You might find a few sirens in like in California, probably LA, but for the most part, like you're not going to see them anywhere in all of America. Whereas like you might find a few of them hanging out in Australia because it's just more to their taste and also like away from most things, where they can focus on like surviving and like trying to rebuild their bloodline rather than having to worry about bullshit Camarilla and Sabat politics.
Exactly.
Funnily enough, Australia was the perfect choice for us because we like to pick a bunch of like
Weirdos.
weird shit. In fact, Australia seems to me like the only place I could feasibly play at Naga with non-Naga like
Well,
Farah.
you could do it in other places, but here's the thing with Naga. When they're with others, they normally don't even know that there was a Naga with them. They're just spying. Think of it as a spy master. So if you're there with others, it's because Naga are checking in on people. So they'd almost see you as maybe a kin, maybe a kinfolk who's got some weird gear and whatnot, or maybe something similar like that. But you're kind of untrustworthy kin who's just trying too much shit and is too risky, or they think you're like a Mokole or something of that sort, and sort of mistake you for it, and there's no way in hell you're gonna correct them.
And like I could probably sell that pretty easily as well because I wanted to play the I wanted to have Nieces.
No, no, nieces.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm sorry. That's the first time I've ever heard Gnosis called nieces.
No, not Gnosis.
Okay.
Nieces.
Oh, thank God.
The
Okay.
memory thing that Mapule have.
Yeah. Okay. Phew. Yeah.
I'm not I'm not an idiot.
Yeah. I thought.
I'm
Mistaken
not talking
that.
about Gnosis.
I was gonna laugh so
I'm
hard.
talking about Nieces.
Okay.
No,
Phew.
he wants to be an uncle. Jeez.
Where is my
Yeah,
stuff?
so-
I can't find
yeah.
anything in this game.
Apparently, it's not. So the thing that the Mokole have, right, is the memory stuff. Like,
Yes.
that's their thing. Naga used to have that apparently, but most of them lost it. But several of them, like a bunch of them, did retain it, and they're like quote unquote like oracles or something along those lines. They're like a different like because Naga culture is weird because I mean, look at India, and you'll have a general idea of how
Yeah.
it works, but so they're like a higher caste, but also not because there aren't. It's because they all treat each other equally, even though they're in different castes. It doesn't make any sense to me. But
Yeah.
like, what's the point of having a caste system if everyone's equal? I whatever.
Don't worry.
But
Werewolf
yeah, so
is
that-
full of that kind of shit.
Yeah. So I wanted to do the memory stuff because I thought that would be an interesting way of exploring a lot of the origin stuff. Was just I remember it.
I don't know where my vehicles are on this map. I need my
Of
ranger
course,
station.
you would need to approve that because I don't know how much of that you want to include in your game.
Oof. Well, if you do the memory stuff, that goes back as far as you can. However, the thing is, when you go back to a memory, if you adjust it at all, if you even like turn your eyes to the left when they didn't, you start to destroy and decay and erode that memory and fuck it up for everyone. So that's also where the problem
be
comes if you go forward, because you can theoretically go forward and look at future incarnations as well, but doing that really fucks up everything and whatnot. So highly not recommended.
Yeah, I'll refrain from doing that.
Yeah, no, that is so that's something you gotta, even if you're looking at the Macaulay books and the other books, it's something that's like barely fucking hinted at, but is mentioned, and people use it all the fucking time in stories. And the thing is, when they let players do that, they have it degrade the old memories as well, which is freaking great. Where the
Because
I
I
can't
feel like why include that little tidbit like if it's not going to be used, right?
hmm
Because like that could be that's a really easy plot point. Like, oh, you see a future that's like 3 generations from now where this shit went wrong, or this company rules the world, or like in a or does something horrible, right? So then you're like, oh, let's destroy this company then, or like destroy this, like take down the CEO or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. Any form of time travel whatsoever tends to cause problems.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's why it's not time travel. It's time viewing.
Viewing. Yeah. And it
In
gets
my book, it's the same
warped.
thing.
Well, here's the thing. It's not even just time, it's generational, which means it goes beyond time. Because the Mokole and the other ones and stuff, the werewolves, existed beyond and without time before time was a concept. which makes shit
They exist in
crazy.
the time of the Dragon Lords.
Yes.
That's how far back you can go with Mimesis.
Mm-hmm. Oh boy.
But yes, so I am planning on playing a Naga in the werewolf campaign.
So yeah,
Werewolf
basically,
Incorporation.
just read up a bunch of spy stuff before you play it, and roll them like that. Think that, or like the Thin Men from fucking what is it called, XCOM, like the snake
Yeah,
people.
no, I think I'll be. Yeah, no, I think I'll be good. I'm pretty sure I can play that.
Yeah, exactly. You'll
That's
do a
pretty
good
much what I
job.
did in life anyway,
Yeah. So
for no reason. Don't
yeah,
ask.
it's kind of cool that so far no one's picked a werewolf. I'm not sure if Joey will, because if we have a werewolf and a werebear, there's always tensions, especially when
Yeah,
past
no,
lives
I
get
can't
involved.
imagine. Yeah, no, because you include a werebear and a naga in a group, a werewolf probably can't join.
No, if he's there.
Except under the
Oh.
most extreme circumstances.
Yeah, so here's the thing. Okay, same with the Mokole. So when you have a Mokole or a werebear and a werewolf in the same group, well, the previous incarnations of the werewolves hunted down all of the Mokole they could and all of the werebears they could because of
Yeah.
bullshit in the past and blamed the others for it. And they're neither of them are entirely wrong on their blame game either, but their past lives need to shut the fuck up and get with the picture, and that's where a lot of issues
Yeah.
come from.
Yeah. It's kind of like that thing where they both sides realize that that they and the other side has legitimate claim, but neither side wants to like admit any fault at all or any wrongdoing, even though they know that they're destroying everything.
Yep. So with the werebears, this is how the War of Rage fucking started, by the way. One werewolf leader was super intense and all about his war stuff and everything. Grr, bark, bark, grr. And he got injured, and the werewolves were like, "Yo, let's take him over to the werebears so they can super heal him and stuff, and bring him back from like gonna die and everything." And they're like, by the time they got him there, he dead. And they're like, "Well, we could do that, but it's not the right time for that yet." And then the werewolves were like, "What the hell do you mean you're not gonna fix him and whatnot and bring him back? It's time. He was just right here. Let's get going, get this done." And they're like, "No, it's not the right time." And then they were like, "Oh hell no, we're not taking that shit. You're some worm spawn liars, aren't you?" And it just sort of broke out into a war that escalated into all of the things that were going wrong being raged against at once, and just woof.
Why
But
did the werebears refuse to resurrect him?
because it was the wrong time, Gaia had told him it was not the time for him to be alive anymore. He would have his time.
So,
And that means
so
it will happen where they decide
they-
to bring him back, and that's insane.
yeah. So hang on. So like I mean, everyone obviously there's a lot of blame that can be placed on a lot of different people for the War of Rage. Did the werebears actually do anything wrong at all?
They just said no, and had a
But they
few
were
other
told
shady
to say
things.
no
Exactly.
by Gaia.
Yeah.
So they did nothing wrong.
They
Okay.
literally did
I didn't
nothing
think
wrong.
so, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, okay.
They were like the truly innocent in that whole
The
situation.
closest you get, because they're still their kind and still did some other things, because they could have handled the situation better, but they did not. And yeah, ugh.
Yeah, because none of the other Pharaoh really respect the werewolves because the werewolves were kind of assholes.
And let's not forget
Um,
that the werebear's job was to be like the healers and helpers and spiritual like leaders of the different pharaoh and keep them together. And then they did not explain or do the spiritual healing side to the werewolves present with the
Yeah.
dead guy. So yeah,
Right, yeah, they didn't bother to. Yeah, I suppose that's
Well,
true.
to be fair, if a cleric loses, the cleric gets his abilities to heal from his god, right?
in D&D,
So if
yes.
the god prevents him from healing, then how is that the cleric's fault?
Well, the cleric would it's also was the werebear's job to explain to them, like to the werewolves present, why they weren't going to resurrect him, but they were like, "Nah, fuck off." You're too arrogant. Like you have no right to make demands of us. Get out of here."
Well,
And that just
to
pissed
be
the
fair,
werewolves
isn't that
off.
kind of true though?
It
Well,
is, but
I
that's where the
mean
problem
that's
came from.
true,
See,
but it's not their. Yeah, that's not what their job. um, and obviously they probably should have known what that was going to do because the werewolves have this little thing called rage that they
yeah,
need to keep in check. And so, if you intentionally go out of your way to piss them off, I mean they kind of lose. Like it's woe be unto you, I suppose.
yeah, no, woe be unto
Um,
the entire world. So, because there were like T-Rex, Mokole, and stuff like that still around, even though the kin for that were gone and
Oh,
everything, that incited them into believing that those guys were all Wyrm spawn and created all sorts of shit. Because, the Mokole aren't going to explain the Nesis to them or anything like that, which is why they could do that in the first place.
a fun fact. Yeah, the werewolf leader that got hurt and died.
Hmm.
Yeah, Naga might have done that.
Yeah.
As I was
kind
reading
of,
through
huh?
the Yeah, well, I was reading through the lore book for the Naga, and apparently one singular Naga was corrupted by the worm, and she assassinated him. Uh, she spent a long time in the spirit realm paying for that mistake.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, pretty much every Naga every other Naga was like, "How fucking dare you?" when they found out, and they like immediately punished her. But oops, but Naga seemed cool. They seemed
Yeah.
interesting.
Okay, so what is a Naga?
Where
Because the
snakes?
only
Snake.
thing I think of. Okay.
In this game, there were
They
snakes.
are yes, they are. They're they're spies and assassins. Is what they are.
I'm opening up a
So
new island. Yay.
yeah, since this probably won't ever really come up in the game, one thing that's important, Gaia essentially made a whole bunch of were creatures to perform various tasks. The Naga were created to make sure everyone else did their job as a sort of like quote unquote secret police. Um, they never let anyone know this. uh, and there
Well,
was a time, yeah,
you can keep watch over people better if they don't know you're watching.
exactly. Um, and especially after the what happened with the War of Rage, the surviving Naga kind of just pretended to be extinct. Um, and pretty much everyone everywhere thinks that, except for the Beast Courts, um,
Yes. Oh,
which are kind of like Eastern were creatures. They're organized differently.
I'll figure this stuff out later.
But yeah,
Alright.
if Joey wants to play something like a Kitsune or a Tengu or something,
Totally doable, yeah.
yeah, especially Australia's just like right down the coast.
Yeah, no, not even. So, one of the things that annoyed me was I was like, oh, I'm going to have to learn about all the Western vampire stuff, and yes, I do. I have to go back and redo all of that stuff. I at least remembered they rot in sunlight rather than like melt. They're not embraced. Yet instead, are born out of a goal that they have to fulfill. Stuff like that. You know. At least I remembered the basics.
Yeah, so there's actually a whole like segment in the Naga book about the time that the Ravnos and Diluvian woke up.
Nice.
Apparent, yeah, like they understood a lot about what was going on there. But interestingly, they have no idea who the Technocracy are. And fun fact, their oracles were given visions by Gaia showing this fight, right? And you know how three of the Eastern like Methuselahs showed up to fight Ravnus.
Hmm.
Um, Apparently they were going to win that fight before the technocracy nuked them,
Yeah, it was
and
gonna be
they
one of the most
freaked out
badass
when that
moments.
happened, and they were like, "No, you just killed the people who were going to kill him." And then the technocracy barely managed to get him before he escaped, and they're like, "You looked out, but if we ever find who you are, you're dead."
You're fucking dead. Yeah, exactly.
So so they don't know it, but the Naga are religiously hunting for the technocracy without knowing that who the technocracy are.
Exactly, which is really cool. And so that means if you do
It
figure
is
it
really
out,
cool.
or any of it out, or find out one of them and know they're somehow related, you're gonna kill the bitch. Which is actually one of the really interesting
Yes.
things. So I don't think we'll get a lot of your character transforming in game, except for
No.
when on their own, or doing a task that takes them somewhere apart from you, like turning into a snake to go into the river to swim across, or something to catch up to everybody. Stuff like that. It's not going to be very often. Or maybe to appear
Yeah.
as a creature to talk to them and they're in a certain area, but moving around and sneaking around, it's going to be interesting. I don't think we'll get a lot of use out of it, but every now and then.
No. I will probably spend most of the campaign full human or full snake, and
Yeah.
every great once in a while I might transform into my. Because the thing, even like the Naga only spend like as long as they're like as far as they're out and about doing stuff, that's pretty much how they do things anyway. And they only ever go to like their half form when they're going to kill someone.
Yep.
Um, and the way that the Naga kill people is through like assassination, and a lot of times they don't even do that because like they're also like master hitmen. Like so they hardly ever need to even rely on their super potent poison anyway.
Hmm.
Because they like use other like they'll like snipe them from a long distance. They'll like lure them into a trap. They'll like poison them. Like they'll sneak in while they're asleep and stab they'll do that,
Oh,
right? And they
they play
only
like
rely
I
on their
would.
yeah, like they are actually like Hitman from Hitman.
Yeah.
um, Except they tend to work in teams of three. Um,
Three's best.
well, three Naga. Neither of you will be Naga, so I will be a bit of an oddball in that regard.
Yeah. Just the fact that he's a
Um,
bear is a bit of an oddball in existence.
so yeah, as far as we should probably take a little bit of time to talk about the individual campaigns within the overarching campaign itself. I think. Um, for change, I have a pretty decent idea of what I want Changeling to be. Of what I'm probably going to do with it. Um, Especially based on your guys' requests. There will definitely be a lot of sort of like, especially early on, there will be some real world drama stuff where you guys might and perhaps some real world adventuring as well. Um, and a lot of sort of like classic dreaming style quests um, for a good portion of time, where you go on these like epic adventures that you would never see anywhere else in World of Darkness except in the dreaming as Changeling you sort of go through it, and you'll be accomplishing tasks in the dreaming that will have far-reaching effects that you won't see for a while. And then at some point late, like maybe late into the campaign near the end, um, I might like throw you sort of into the deep end when it comes to changing politics. Um,
Yeah.
because like each is like because like there's rulers. There's like a ruling class. Um,
Like the Sid and
that
all that. Yeah.
you're not necessarily expected to answer to them at any given point necessarily because it's kind of complicated. But I mean, if you do enough stuff, then to get noticed by the ruler of the region, like they'll sort of drag you in and try to get you to do stuff for them. So sort of near the end of the campaign, I might do that, and like that'll probably lead to a good like wherever the end whatever ending we have planned, because we'll probably have a pretty decently large ending.
Yeah, whereas
I
like
have
this
no idea
first
what's on that yet.
yeah, like this first vampire game was more of just to get us into it, so I had just the plot is playing around the players, and if they don't interact with it, it's still happening, type of thing. So it was very different because I feel when we get to the next area, because we've got the gameplay for it and whatnot happening, we'll be more directly involved with the plot lines. Like for Farah the Apocalypse, uh, I intend to start the campaign literally like right after Zamish II has fallen.
Okay.
So it'll be that same day in July that our vampire characters just went through. It'll be like the end of that night, like the morning afterwards, dealing with the aftermath will be
Yeah.
where we start.
I thought you were fucking. I thought you were fucking with me when you wrote the location of the other two people that were waking up. I was like, "Are you serious?"
No. I originally planned beforehand when I was writing this thing up that Zamish would wake up in Africa and Usathane would wake up in Europe. And then I was like, no, 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 no. I'm going to put Usathane down in Africa because that's some funny shit throwing the Bali down there. It makes sense you would hide him, right? And then
Hmm.
Zamish, of course, would want to be in Europe because that's where they have territories and whatnot. So wouldn't it be funny if someone stole him and moved him to some random backwater ass place that he would hate? And that's why he wound up in Australia.
That makes a lot of sense and it's very funny.
Yeah. And the reason that the Nosferatu guy is up in Alaska is because of his connection to a certain werewolf dealings that he had going on via the Giovanni and other peoples who got him to Zamish in the first place. So he just wound up there because that's where he'd wind up. He would either be there or in the northern part of Canada. So I put him right on the border.
Makes sense.
Dang, it takes
So
forever to incubate.
for Demon, I don't know what the fuck to do. uh, I
Yeah,
haven't been able to find much information on actual Demon campaigns.
it's a
So I
lot
mean, I
harder to
have
do. But here's
yeah,
the thing. So Australia is kind of weird. So when I was telling you about the Aboriginal situation thing and stuff like that, they literally have like as part of the Aboriginal culture, there's tribes of people who, anyone who watched Buffy would just call groups of fucking slayers and hunters, who go out, find the things that the Aboriginals don't want in existence, and fucking destroy it in all memory of it. So in World of Darkness, I look at that as groups of hunters, who go out and destroy the worst motherfuckers. So getting demons to exist there, they got to be more interactive with people and be more teachery than you would elsewhere in the world. Because if you're not, like an Earthbound in the fucking Australian outback is gonna get murdered, you know. Whereas a demon would probably be like more willing to be there and like teach things and be more spiritually aware. Like I don't know, it's just
yeah.
different.
It's what happens in the Demon campaign is going to be highly dependent on the characters that you want to play.
So there was
Because there doesn't be much threat to a demon outside of other demons.
what's funny is any
Um,
of the other supernaturals can fucking wreck a demon, but they gotta know it exists, know what the fuck it is, and actually decide to interact with it, which
yeah,
most
and then
demons
also
try not
how
to.
to. Yeah,
Because like a werewolf could bitch slap a demon player character to death in like 1-2 hits, not an issue.
yeah, yeah. I suppose that's true. Like, because like demons are tough to get rid of. Um, because I mean, even if once the demon, if the demon transforms, depending on the type of demon, anyway, you
Yeah,
can be quite powerful. But demon transformations definitely have a much more strict time limit.
yeah.
Um,
You know what?
And most demons aren't really built for combat anyway, because because they were they're builders and shapers. Unless you're playing a high torment demon, your combat capabilities are not going to be incredible. You're just generally powerful. Like there's a lot of things you can do. Um, it would just be weird
Hmm.
in comp because I mean imagine because there's a whole class of demons that are just like oracles
Yeah.
and a whole class are druids and ones that are like oh when I transform I can predict the weather for the next week within a 10-mile radius. The biggest thing that demons have going for them is that they can sense the presence of other supernatural creatures within like a mile around them. So if they need to avoid other supernatural creatures, it's really easy for them to do so.
Yep.
Um, that's sort of their one of their big things. And obviously, if they're high torment, they can destroy cities without much issue.
Uh-huh.
Even at relatively low levels, like the water based like fallen angels could probably I think they could probably destroy a decently sized city at with 3 or maybe 4 dots in their main lore. Um, if they pick the right one, it's just it'd be
Nice.
like it's just the way demons fight is different. Um, so I think the demon campaign is definitely going to be very dependent on what you guys play and what you want to see.
Yeah.
I'll probably pick out a few things to explore because one of the biggest things that demons are after is they're trying to figure out what happened to Lucifer. They're trying to figure out
Oh,
what
and you
happened
know what's
to
one of
God.
the
They're trying to figure out what happened to their angels.
yeah, you know what's one of the great things about Australia is we have all of these hunters. There's like lots of hunters related to a culture that is one of the oldest, and is definitely the oldest one that carried spoken communication that has accurate records of time, which is ridiculous. So when you combine those things, and you combine the fact that according to World of Darkness, the devil made hunters. That's the thing he did and caused. It would make sense to look at Australia as a potential origin point of like where he was, you know, and being like, if that's true, because in the game universe it is, but for characters looking into that, being like, is this actually true? Here's a place we can check and try to find out. In my opinion, is one of the coolest reasons to be down there as one of the characters, you know?
Yeah, that's definitely a plot point. Um, and yeah, there's sort of the native sort of legends and stuff like that, because a demon gets his power through faith, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, but the thing doesn't need to necessarily believe that you are an angel or a demon or whatever. They usually need to believe in your power. Um, so you can present yourself as some sort of great spirit or something,
Yep.
especially since a low torment demon doesn't look like a demon. They look like an angel, like when they manifest.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh.
so you could very easily and obviously the angels look very different depending on which one you're playing, and you might not look like an angel. You might look like some sort of there's one that you are practically invisible when you when you manifest, and you have you're mostly invisible. You're kind of wispy, and you have glowing golden eyes. I mean, if I saw that, I wouldn't think angel. I think that's a ghost, right? That's some sort of
Hmm.
spirit. So there's lots of ways you can play. You can gather up a cult who thinks that you're some sort of great spirit or something. Um,
So originally, for when playing demon, I wanted to play as this clown chick, and I had her all like planned out and stuff. And then I learned we were gonna be in Australia, and I was like, no, she wouldn't be a good character for there. She'd be good for somewhere else. So I kind of shelved her. But I don't know. There's some interesting concepts there that I had for her that I kind of wanted to carry over, and I'll probably use for my character because she was a clown and all this other stuff, and used that to see the side of innocence and whatnot of the world, and then do investigations based off of that into other things, which is a
I
really interesting
I would.
character. But
The more you can tell me about your character now, the easier it will be for me, just
yeah,
in the
so
long run.
what I'm gonna take from that character and keep is utilizing talking to mortals. I'm gonna figure out which one they sort of focus in on, like what group, and then like their air quotes targeted people that they would choose, and then from there that they investigate the rest of the world and the supernatural through that lens and perspective. So when I figure that out, like who do they interact with, that's gonna be bam, the character.
Do you know which kind of demon you're thinking about playing?
Uh, Originally it was gonna be one of the ones who were the messengers who did the traveling and whatnot, but I'm not entirely sure right now. What was it? Not was it Scourge? I think it was Scourge at the time.
Let me scroll up.
Yeah, scroll up and check out Scourge real quick. I want to see if that's the right one. Yay!
Lores.
I got the dinosaur born. Dun, 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 dun,
Format.
dun, dun, dun. The camera's weird. Alright, let's see. Free camera. Look at the baby. She's so pretty.
I've made it decent. I've made it very far through this book.
Dude, I have
Demon
to
book.
get through Werewolf 20th edition again because, yeah, it's coming up. And then all the breed books again, too. Yeesh. Alright, I should
These
build.
are different factions. Oh, right. Yeah, the factions will also be important. Which faction you guys were part of?
Extreme Carnivore Feeder.
Right. The Scourge. Entrusted with carrying the sacred breath of life, their duties brought them in close contact with their beloved humanity. Even better, they were charged with the ongoing protection of every being they animated. Um,
Yeah, that's the one that I was going to use for her.
the Angels of the Wind. Yeah, they're like healers and wind. They control the wind and stuff.
Yeah, I'll probably still be one of those because that just seems like the one that I want to be.
Yeah, their lores were the lore of winds, the lore of awakening, and the lore of the firmament.
Woo!
Um,
Bye bye. So yeah, that's what my demon character is going to be. That and a detective person. I'm thinking I'll probably still play
so you
a
want
female one, just like they're in a female host, just because you know it's it's been a while since I've played something like that. That's the perspective I want to go from. Kind of like how
okay.
I want to play something weird for. Because when I was thinking I'd get to play vampire and whatnot, because that I wasn't going to be hosting it, that we would just be switching off, so I'd host sometimes and other times. I had planned this one character called Darnell, who I later changed his name to Denzel, and it was pretty cool. But he was a Nosferatu who looked like a bubonically deformed werewolf, and like was raised by Gangrel basically. So he was a very interesting character. I was excited to play and just the type I wanted to, but he was like a black man from like before the 20s and stuff in the US and everything. So crazy history, and that was the perspective I wanted to play vampire through. So demon, I just want to play that perspective through like a female investigator, man, who has some wind powers and shit.
Okay, so Scourge. Um, right. So, thing about demons. Once you pick a demon, you get access because there's common lores which every demon gets access to, but each house has three lores that only they know.
Yeah.
And you pick one of those three lores as your primary lore, and that one determines what you look like in your apocalyptic form
Oh yeah.
and the abilities you get. So the Scourge gets Lore of the Firmament, Lore of the Winds, and Lore of Awakening. The Lore of the Firmament is you get the abilities Remote Viewing, Scry, Mouth of the Damned, Touch from Afar, and Many Places at Once. Um, the Awakening, Lore of Awakening, grants you the abilities Find the Faithful, Cleanse, Heal, Animate, and Restore Life.
Yeah.
And Lore of the Winds is Summon Wind, Fist of Air, Command the Winds, Wall of Air, and Cyclone.
Gonna bring back the dead, motherfucker.
You want to go with Lore Awakenings?
Yeah, that's totally gonna be it.
Um,
I gotta.
Doggone. Doggone. Dagon. Dagon?
Yeah.
Dagain. The Visage of Awakenings. The apocalyptic form of the Masters of Animation infuses the angel's mortal body with the blush of youth and vibrant health. Even the oldest mortal vessels appear to be in the prime of their life and move with inhuman grace, speed, and strength. This aura of life and vitality radiates as a palpable sense of warmth, like a beam of sunlight, and every living being touched is temporarily suffused with this power. Wilted flowers return to full bloom, and injured gain strength, and the old forget their afflictions. You get the abilities Aura of Vitality,
Oh, yeah.
Pass Without Trace, improved physical capabilities, and wings. You get Owl's Wings.
Oh, cute.
The wings that demons get don't let you fly; they let you glide, but you glide really fast. Your improved physical capabilities are +1 strength, +1 dex, and +1 stamina. Pass Without Trace, the difficulty of characters' stealth rolls decreases by 2, and your passes do not disturb the surrounding environment in any way. You leave no footprints and disturb no foliage. The Aura of Vitality. Living beings, plant, or animal within a number of yards equal to your character's faith are infused with restorative energies. Individuals within the area heal any bashing damage at a rate of 1 health level per turn. And then like if you reach high apocalypse levels, you can get miasma, extra health levels, viscous flesh, and extra limbs. Miasma, you can like poison people. Extra limbs gives you exactly what it sounds like. Extra health levels gives you exactly what that sounds like. And viscous flesh, it lets you like just leave your flesh behind if you need to. So if anyone grabs you or holds you down or
I
something,
name
you can
her
just like
Pop Tart.
slip out of it. You know, pretty gross. But
Pop Tart. That's my dinosaur's name. Alright, so I'm going to end the video here and take a little break and then get back to it, okay?
all right, sounds good.